Hi, my name is Andrea Buckley, and I'm a licensed mental health therapist in the state of Michigan, and welcome to the Connection Diaries. I'm so excited that you are here. We are in episode number 3 of a series I'm calling Healing Through the Holidays, the Art of Holding On and Letting Go. So, in episode number 1, we talked about all things grief and loss. So, go back and check that video out, especially if you're grieving in this season. We have episode number 2, which we talked about the concept of seasonal depression or winter's rest, honoring our natural cycles. And as we are in episode number 3, we're going to be talking about the concept of embracing darkness. So when you heard me say that, I'm curious what came up for you initially. Like, did you start thinking about like Halloween or like evil spirits or sin or just like things that you want to avoid? Are you scared of the dark? Are you like, I don't want to talk about this? Are you about to click off? I want to encourage you to hold on and to stay tuned and to tune into what I'm going to say. Because what I would say is, I describe the work that I do as a therapist as sitting in the dark with other people. And I love it. I love that work because oftentimes outside of the therapy space, people do not allow themselves to really sit in the dark, to sit with themselves, to face themselves, to embrace the parts of themselves that they rather distract themselves from, they rather hide from. And so this video is about, how do I embrace the darkness when I'm outside of the therapy room, when it's just me and myself, when I am in a state of emotion that I'd rather not post about, when I am thinking thoughts that I'd rather not say out loud, when I'm feeling feelings that makes me feel disconnected from everybody around me. What do I do with that? And so that's what we're going to talk about. And as we are in the last month of the year, a lot of times what I find is that we are experiencing a lot more darkness, right? Us in Michigan, it's starting to get dark early, and that has a lot of impact on people's mental health. We typically tend to resist darkness. We tend to want to be in the sun. Some people, you might not have that. Maybe you like to be in the dark. Maybe you like looking at the moon and the stars. Maybe you found peace in the dark. Maybe you can't sleep unless you're in a room that is completely dark. Whatever your association with darkness is, regardless, I just want you to invite yourself to embrace the idea that we are both light and dark, that we have so many different parts of who we are. And when I say that, I don't mean good and bad, and I don't mean like evil and not evil. I just mean light and dark. When you think about going outside, right? We don't call the sun good and the moon evil, right? So that doesn't make sense. It's just a natural part of life, right? That there's moments when the sun is up and there's moments when it's dark at night and we need light to see, right? And so I want you to think about yourself that way, that this isn't about good or bad, or if I'm, doing something right or wrong. It's just about what is coming up for me based off my past experiences, based off how I was socialized, based off how I was conditioned, based off like how I've been wounded, right? Trauma just means wound. And so that's what we're going to talk about in today's video. And what before we jump into that, I'll share a little bit of just my story with this particular season and what's coming up for me. And I found that I've actually been crying a lot more this month. I'm a crier in general, don't get me wrong, but I feel like what is happening in this month is everything that maybe I did not feel to the fullest is coming out this month. Everything that I rather kind of push to the side is coming to the surface, and everything that is kind of like in the cracks of my life that kind of gets forgotten or lost is coming to the surface. And I wonder if you resonate with that at all. I noticed that when I have more time to be still, when I have more time where I just want to stay in the house because it's cold, when I have more time where like maybe I'm spending more time by myself, just because of I have low energy levels, then yeah, a lot comes to the surface. And a lot of times when things like come to the surface, especially things that are triggering or uncomfortable or difficult, we might feel like, oh man, like I'm regressing, or maybe I'm taking a couple steps back. But actually, that might not be the case. Healing also looks like falling apart. Healing also looks like letting go. Healing looks like releasing tears, releasing emotion. It looks like still being affected by things. And I think that's important to name, because I think sometimes we have this idea that, oh, when I'm healed or as I'm healing, I will just be this perfect person who always responds perfectly and always does the right thing and always is making healthy options. No, that's not how it goes. Like, Healing is a continuous journey. So soon as I feel like I've mastered one thing, life is going to present a new thing. Healing is a continuous journey. So as I run away from the life lessons that I feel like are trying to be taught to me, they're going to continue to manifest themselves in other areas of my life until I learn. That's what I like to think. And so when I think about the concept of embracing darkness, I want to provide kind of like 3 points. And then I want to leave you all with some journaling prompts. As always, that will be found in the caption of this video so that you can begin to think about how to apply these principles to your everyday life. And so when I think about embracing darkness, we got to start with first reframing darkness. Darkness is not a negative thing, like a scary thing, like a horror movie or like, ooh, like I want you to think about darkness as just a normal, natural part of life, right? I wake up, the sun is up. I go to bed, the sun is going down, right? That's the same thing with what's happening internally in my own, mind and my heart and my body and my spirit. There's times when like I feel like I'm having an internal spring and summer, and there's times when I feel like I'm having internal winter and fall. That is just part of life. And so if I reframe darkness, I'm less likely to run away from those parts of myself. I'm less likely to feel like I'm not worthy when those things come up and surface for me. I'm likely to feel that I'm still worthy of love in those moments, because why wouldn't I be? These are just natural parts of life. They're not character flaws. It's not me doing something wrong. It's not, that I am not a good fill in the blank, whatever that is for you. It's just that this is a natural part of life, that there's times when I'm shedding, and there's times when I feel like I'm on top of the world. There's times where I'm crying, and there's times when I'm laughing so hard that I'm crying too. If that makes sense. Either way, I'm releasing something. And so the first step is to really reframe how we view darkness. The second thing I want you to think about is I want you to think about shadows as our teachers. So when you find yourself experiencing a trigger, or you're like I feel like I'm reacting to this situation, but I feel like my reaction doesn't really fit the situation. That is an opportunity for you to kind of sit down and be like, okay, what are you trying to teach me in this moment? So if I lean into that instead of running away from it and trying to suppress it, avoid it, or distract myself from it, I'll find wisdom. But if I run away from it, what I'll do is I'll repress what's going on for myself, and I'll find probably like maladaptive coping mechanisms such as overworking, overdrinking, overeating, like all the things, right? Instead of saying like, let me sit with this, like what's going on? Like let a light bulb moment come up and allow yourself to really sit with what's going on and to learn from it. Like this is a teaching moment. So that's for triggers. If I'm sitting with an uncomfortable emotion, allow myself to really allow the emotion to go through my body and say, okay, what are you here to teach me in this moment? Because what I found in when I'm working with different clients is I never met a client and I felt like, oh, you shouldn't feel that way, or why are you thinking that, or you shouldn't react that way. Why? Because I understand the way in which trauma impacts us. I understand that what this person is reacting to is deeper than what's on the surface. And what I want you to do is to be able to do that for yourself outside of the therapy room, to be able to ask yourself questions, to be curious about what's going on instead of judging yourself and like shaming yourself for what you're experiencing. Because what that does is just disconnects you from yourself versus bringing yourself closer. Then having this intimacy where you can be like, like I'm noticing this loneliness. Like, what is that teaching me about what I desire? What is that teaching me about what I fear? Or I'm noticing this insecurity. What is that teaching me about what I believe worthiness looks like, or what I believe it means to be lovable? How am I thinking about old definitions maybe of worthiness and what it means to be lovable, and new definitions that I'm trying to cultivate and create? And where's the resistance that I'm experiencing surrounding that based off wherever I'm experiencing in the moment that I'm feeling unlovable, right? You see how that's like you being a little investigator, you're digging deeper. You're not just writing the thought off, writing the emotion off in the name of gratitude, in the name of emotional suppression, in the name of just being positive. No, you're like, I'm going to turn towards this part of me that I rather repress, distract, numb, and run away from, and I'm allow it to be my teacher. Okay. So we talked about reframing darkness. We talked about embracing the shadows as our teachers. And I also want to just talk about the concept of like rituals to support this work. And so this is the practical piece of the work that we're doing. So when I think about rituals, I think about, for me, I would say sometimes it's just laying in the bed and crying. Like sometimes it's like knowing that, okay, I need to have a good cry. I need to play some sad music and I need to release what's coming out, the thing that I've been trying to avoid by scrolling on social media, by eating all my favorite sugary snacks. Like, let me just go sit in bed. Let me play the music that I know is going to get me there and just release and to cry. And sometimes that's the most therapeutic experience. And sometimes that's the most uncomfortable experience. But what I'm doing in that moment is I'm holding my inner child and I am saying, I got you. I see you. I'm here with you. I won't abandon you. You, how you feel is worth it and it is valid. So that's one thing. The second thing I think about in terms of rituals is writing a letter to your inner child. And the only way that this is effective is if you are speaking directly to the versions of yourself that has been wounded. Not the version of yourself that's stuck in your head, that's your adult self that has it together, that knows all the answers. No, the version of yourself that was wounded. So, for example, if I'm feeling like I'm not good enough in a moment, a way that I can speak directly to my inner child is letting her know, I know that you don't feel like you're enough in this moment. And I know the reasons why is one, two, and three. But I want to offer you a new narrative. I want to offer you a narrative that you are worthy even when you're not productive. I want to offer you a narrative that you are worthy even when you miss the mark. And I understand that that might be hard for you to understand because of all of these experiences that taught you different. You got to speak directly to that part of you. Otherwise, what you're doing is you're kind of gaslighting your inner child. You're kind of suppressing how she feels. You're maybe chopping it up to her being childish or overreacting or just throwing a tantrum. And that disconnects you from yourself versus bringing you closer to yourself. So you have release, crying, playing some sad music if you need to. You have writing a letter to your inner child. And then we also want to talk about community, having a safe space with other people to face the darkness. We need spaces where we can take off our masks, where we don't feel like we have to pretend. We need emotionally safe spaces. And so many people that I work with do not have that. And it literally breaks my heart because I know the power of one-on-one work, but I also know the power of community. And that's why I'm also going to be doing a lot of group therapy as we go into the new year. So stay tuned for that offering. But if you are longing for a community where you don't have to wear a mask, where you can say that I'm hurting, where you can face those parts of yourselves that you find difficult to love, to open yourself up and realize that, oh, I'm still lovable in the midst of that because my community has surrounded me in love. That is the best form of medicine. So I'm going to be trying to facilitate more spaces like that. But that third point is just community, finding a space with other people where they're also doing this work of embracing the darkness and facing their shadows and allowing themselves to be human. So those are your 3 points. That's what we're talking about today when we talk about embracing darkness. Always remember that you are loved, that you are enough, and stay inspired. And as always, please like, comment, and share this video. Check out the journaling prompts that are at the comment section of this video, and stay tuned for the last episode of this series next Thursday. Have a good one.